Okay, so we are reading The Humming Effect by Jonathan Goldman. We are on chapter 6, page number 77, Processing Your Experience.
Page 86 of the PDF. When you first combine humming with intention, often the experience is quite profound. Can you feel a difference in your physical, emotional, or mental state after doing this exercise? Were you successful in encoding your intent onto your sound?
So again, when you are looking at physical, emotional, and mental state, it connects very well with the what Zia is talking in the somatic intelligence, which is the physical is the reptilian brain, the emotional is the mammalian brain, and the mental is the neocortex. So you got the three brain system. Again, when you're humming also, these three need to come into alignment. So your emotional state, your physical state, and your mental state. When they come into harmony and they come into alignment, that is when you start getting equanimity and equilibrium, or as she calls it, homeostasis in your system.
Processing your experience. If you achieved your desired effect with your intention and humming, we congratulate you. At the same time, we encourage you to be gentle with yourself and give yourself time to process your experience.
Okay, so this is very, very important. Shivangla, your mic.
My mic
Okay,
is right
so we
there.
encourage you to be gentle with yourself and give yourself time to process your experience. Now, most of the time, who is our biggest critic? So you'll find that you yourself are your biggest critic. So you need to start becoming gentle with yourself, compassionate with yourself, but the caveat being that you're doing your best. What we got in the 4 agreements. If you're not doing your best, then being gentle with yourself does not work. But if you're doing your best, you need to be gentle and compassionate with yourself. And what I have seen is that when you are gentle and compassionate with yourself and doing your best, anything is possible for you to achieve and do. I don't think anything is there that you cannot achieve.
How did you feel before you made the sound? Did you notice a difference in your physical, emotional, or mental state after you made the sound? You may have been more affected by this exercise than you think. It's important to assess yourself and your experience.
So again, we need to check in with our body. We need to check in with our emotional state. We need to check in with our mental state. We need to become observant as to what is happening and then put a trigger, put a finger on it and then see. You have to be perceptive of the shifts which are taking place. Our body is a very, very powerful instrument that we have in our hands. Unfortunately, we have stopped using it. Now, if we connect to the body, the amount of information the body can give you is so fantastic. It is not funny. I have mentioned this before, but they've done experiments where they've seated a person in front of a computer screen and they are flashing pictures. And they have this, the body connected with skin galvanizing response, pulse meter, temperature meter, and all that stuff, HRV and all that. And what they have found is that the body reacts before the picture comes onto the screen. So there's an intuitive intelligence in the body. Unfortunately, we have disconnected. So what is he saying? He's saying it over and over again, that notice what is the difference that is taking place in the body. This is extremely important. You need to assess yourself. But that comes out of awareness. So the more aware you become, the better you become at it. Now, for awareness, you need to still your mind. And for stilling your mind, you have to be in equanimity. So it's a chicken and egg story. But having said that, we work on both aspects simultaneously, one step at a time, so that we start becoming more and more aware.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please, Auntie.
That means that you have to know the level of your pain before you start and the level of it after you hummed and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, so that's the right way to assess it, right? So what was my, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do I measure my pain right now? And then you hum. Now, where do I measure it on a scale of 1 to 10?
Right.
Now, many times when we are going into these expanded states, when we are going into the, like F27 and all, you can actually create a switch for yourself and you create a meter that, okay, what's the level of pain I want to experience? You turn it and you can actually regulate the amount of pain that you're experiencing. The body is so sensitive and it can listen to you, provided you listen to it. If someone doesn't listen to me, then am I going to listen to him? That's the game over here that we are playing.
Okay.
It's also important not to become discouraged if you didn't notice any specific changes after you have completed this or any of the exercises in this book.
So again, trial, practice becomes very important. Now, if you leave a practice in the middle, then of course you've not really achieved it. So practice is very important. The stuff works, but you have to allow it to work for you. That's a very important part of it.
Perhaps your expectations were a bit high in terms of what you wanted to achieve. 5 minutes of conscious humming may not, for example, immediately eradicate a chronic condition.
Now, this is important over here. What we want, what we are always looking for, and allopathy, I think, is very, very, uh, is the trigger for this kind of a thing that you pop a pill and your problem is sorted out. When we have a chronic condition, it is not possible. It has built up over years. So if you expect that it's going to get eradicated in 1 minute, it's not going to happen. You have to give it time. You have to allow the process to work on you. You can't expect magic all the time. Yes, magic happens. I have no doubt in that because I've seen it happen. But the fact is that it doesn't happen all the time.
Sometimes conditions that have been with us for a long time can disappear immediately, and sometimes they need more healing time. It's also possible that you did receive slight relief in your condition, but you are just not yet aware of it.
So again, this is where awareness comes in. The more tuned in we are to ourselves, the better our assessment of what is happening.
Remember, babies don't begin walking immediately. First, they have to learn to crawl, then to stand, then to take a step or two without falling. For many children, the process of learning to successfully walk takes a while. Anytime we learn something new, it can take a while, and it's important to be as gentle as possible with ourselves throughout the learning process.
So this is very important. We learn the best when we are not stressed. And if we are gentle with ourselves, we put ourselves on the right side of the grid where manifestation takes place. So that is where learning will take place. So we have to be gentle with ourselves. We have to be proactive. We have to be childlike. That is when we learn the most. Just understand, when do we learn the most? When we are children. It's a given fact. So the more childlike you become, the more you will learn. It is as simple as that.
With regard to combining our hum with our intention, we need to be satisfied with baby steps at first. Do not be disappointed if the purpose of your hum is not immediately achieved. For some people, success comes with the first try. For others, it's a matter of time. As with most things, practice makes perfect. The more you practice conscious humming, the more skilled you will become in achieving results.
So again, adhyan, practice cannot be replaced by anything. So if you want to be good at something, you need to practice it. You need to do it over and over again so that it becomes muscle memory and then it starts really working for you.
And please note, if you seem not to have experienced any effects, don't worry. We are all unique vibratory beings and experience things differently and in our own time. The more you work with and experience the power of sound and silence, the more changes will manifest. The more you will be aware of them and the easier they will come.
Okay, so it's again about awareness. The more aware you become, the easier it becomes. The more easy it is, the more aware you become.
Raju Mama has his hand up.
Yes,
What if we hum without any intention?
No problem.
Like
So just
we are doing some part या पूजा कर रहे हैं. That time, instead of speaking,
mm,
if we hum the shloks,
yes,
so what is the advantage of doing that?
ट्राई करके देखिए.
Without intention.
ट्राई करके देखिए और फिर हम लोग को बताइए क्या हुआ.
ठीक है.
Effects of subtle energy. Sound is considered to be in the category of energy medicine. Many times it is categorized like acupuncture, light therapy, and therapeutic touch as a healing modality that utilizes subtle energy. This is an energy that often must be sensed rather than felt. So, it is so subtle that it's sometimes difficult to feel it. An example of subtle energy is the electromagnetic field that surrounds the body, often called the aura or auric field. Many different energy healers work with aspects of this field in order to affect the physical body.
So what are we doing with biofield tuning? What are we testing with GDV? What are we doing with the Progen Aura camera? What are we doing with biofield imaging? It's all this sensing the subtle energy so that we can make an assessment of what is actually happening.
While acknowledgement of subtle energy has yet to be documented in peer-reviewed scientific journals, some of the healing modalities that work with it, such as acupuncture, have been long tested and proven effective. While Western scientists have yet to definitively prove why it works, it's obvious that in China and many other countries where acupuncture is accepted and widely utilized, it would not continue to be used for so many thousands of years if it did not work.
So now the fact that this stuff is existing for so many years, it means that it works. It's as simple as that.
Of how many of these subtle energy healing
Shimangla. Okay, 1 second. I'm switching networks.
Probably the easiest explanation for how many of these subtle energy healing modalities work is quite simple. Yeah.
Shimangla, you can't be heard. Okay, she's gone. I'll come on my phone. Just 1 second, hold on.
Just give me 1 second, I have to get the screen up. Probably the easiest explanation for how many of these subtle energy healing modalities work is quite simple. As we noted earlier, everything is vibration, including our body. Thus, as also noted, an imbalance in the physical body is usually the result of a blockage of the energetic vibrations of the body, the natural harmonic resonance of the body, if you like. All that's necessary to remove the blockage is to change this out of tune vibration. Depending upon the condition and how long it has existed, changing the vibration and removing the blockage can be quite difficult or very easy.
So again, whenever there is a block of the flow of anything, always it lands up creating an issue, and there's a challenge over there. So the moment you can connect to a certain process or a resource which will allow you to transcend it, then you can deal with it. Okay, so it's basically what are we dealing with? In all vibrational healing, whether it's homeopathy, batch flower remedies, life system, biofield tuning, access bar consciousness, craniosacral therapy, all these are what? They're all acupressure, acupuncture, massage therapies. They're all just attempting to release the blocks in the body system.
How do we change blocked energy? It could be as uncomplicated as humming with intention to a particular area that has blocked energy.
Shimangla, your mic.
Think of it like a sonic massage. Have you ever had a kink in your arm or another part of your body that was quite painful? Most of us have. Then you massaged it a bit and suddenly the pain went away. What happened? On one level, you could say that you had blocked energy that you loosened and then released as you massaged the painful spot. This is basically the same principle underlying the use of the hum. You might ask how humming could possibly relieve a pain in, for example, your thigh. Once again, we bring your attention to the fact that through the use of sound as a subtle healing energy, it has the ability, with the help of your intent, to pass through your body to the place where you wanted it to vibrate and release the stuck energy.
So energy follows your attention. So where you pay attention, the energy will follow. So where you pay attention, you can actually lead the vibration through the hum over there also.
This is definitely an intermediate to advanced level of working with sound. But we feel that at this point, having worked through all the preceding exercises, you are ready to take this on. When you sound your hum, we now encourage you to amplify your intention with a strong sense of belief.
Okay. So
Rather
what does
than
this mean?
thinking-
Shimangla, can you take off your mic? Because you're recording.
Sir?
Take it out, na? We recorded with your computer directly. It was recording fine yesterday.
Okay, that way. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better. No comparison. Okay, so what is this? When you sound your hum, we now encourage you to amplify your intention with a strong sense of belief. So what does that mean? You're encoding your intent with your belief system, because we are all restricted by our box. In the Gateway Voyage, Robert Monroe talks right in the beginning of transcending your belief system, because your belief system is the box that you operate in. Now, if humming will work is a part of your belief system, then automatically it will work better for you, because it's become a part of your belief system.
This is definitely an intermediate to advanced level of working with sound, but we feel that at this point, having worked through all the preceding exercises, you are ready to take this on. When you sound your hum, we now encourage you to amplify your intention with a strong sense of belief. Rather than thinking that your hum may have a positive effect, know that your hum will have this effect and feel it happening as you create the sound. This is a powerful way to use your imagination, and yet it is so very important in terms of enhancing your ability to project intention onto your sound.
Okay, so what does this mean? Visualization. He also talked about visualization. So when you are humming, if you can visualize the effect, if you can visualize the result that you're looking for, automatically it will become more effective.
The yoga of humming, advanced humming practices. It seems like there are as many yoga studios these days as there are gyms and fitness centers. Yoga today is perhaps even more popular than aerobics was 10 years ago. In fact, the two disciplines, yoga and aerobics, often are regarded by the layperson as being similar in terms of physical fitness. We are both yoga enthusiasts and have been for many years, and we know that yoga encompasses much more than the physical aspect of our well being. In our current Western culture, yoga most commonly involves gathering a group of people and teaching them asanas or postures as part of the Hatha Yoga tradition. These postures are said to promote physical fitness, mobility, and other benefits. And this is true. However, the word yoga is actually a Sanskrit term that means yoke or union, and the practice of yoga is a means by which we can support our body, our mind, and our spirit and come into alignment with the divine. As we shall see, there are many yogic paths besides Hatha Yoga.
Okay, so each and every yogic posture will affect a certain area of your system. What we've also seen is the access system of the body, where every organ has its access system, every muscle has its access system, every bone has its access system. So what are you affecting? By doing the exercises, we affect the access system of the body, which again results in harmonizing it, getting into equilibrium, so that the thing can start working popularly. I mean properly. The same thing is happening with the mudras. So what is Ravindraji doing? When he is forming a mudra or he's testing for a mudra, he's actually feeling in his body as to what that effect of that mudra is. And then when he finds that, okay, this is the effect of the mudra, he tests it with other people, giving it to them, and then asking them what was the effect of the mudra. So you can actually, with the Lecker antenna, we can actually test whether the mudra is working for you or not working for you, so that we can see the alignment of the access system. So like that, every yogic posture has a certain effect.
A recent, a recent research for different schools of yoga proved to be quite interesting. While the actual practice of legitimate yoga goes back thousands of years in India and incorporates many different practices, we found that there are only about a half dozen schools of yoga that are recognized in the West, all of which are variants of the Hatha Yoga tradition, which focuses primarily on the body. In addition, most of these schools appear to have established within the last 20 years or so. This phenomenon of the seeming newness of yoga in the West is most interesting to observe.
So again, it's just gone to the West, so people are just getting to know it. Also, what happens is that we don't have really proper practitioners of the stuff who are dedicated and who actually know. Let me tell you, in the Western countries, the amount of dedication that they put into the yogic practices is not funny. At the institute, they have 3 or 4 yoga trainers who come in the morning to give yoga, and you have to see the passion with which they work. I have not seen that kind of passion in any yoga teacher in India. Maybe I have not encountered the right people, but I have not perceived it here. So again, what kind of consciousness are you bringing into that yogic practice when you're teaching as well as when you're learning? Again, starts becoming very, very important. In fact, Robert Monroe's grandson's wife used to teach yoga. She's a nice, good friend now, Sharon. She was so passionate, you cannot imagine. The way she used to take the yoga class, I never used to miss any of the classes. In spite of, conducting programs, I used to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning, do the yoga, and then go through the whole day till 11, 12 at night. But I never used to miss her session because she used to make it so interesting.
Different parts of yoga. As noted, yoga is quite ancient. There are numerous different schools, styles, and paths in yoga beside hatha. Here are but a few. Bhakti Yoga. This is a devotional yoga and deals with meditation on the different gods and goddesses in the Hindu pantheon.
So now, the different gods and goddesses, in my view, each and every god and goddess has its own frequency of vibration. So when you want a certain effect, you need that vibration. We've seen it, that every vibration has a shape. So every Devi and Devta has a frequency. Now, if I can remember the correct Devi or Devta and I have an issue, just by remembering the Devi or Devta, I can sort out my problem because my axis will align. If we have the time, we will test this also.
Karma Yoga. This yoga consists of individuals being of entirely selfless service to the divine through their actions in this life.
So again, this is what we
Lay
are doing
yoga.
in the Gita now, Karma Yoga. So you have to perform your action, do your duty, do your dharma.
Lay yoga. This yoga, also known as Kundalini yoga, focuses on the energy found within the spine and in particular in the chakras. It includes meditation, pranayam, breath work, and mantra yoga.
So again, Kundalini, rising of the Kundalini. Uh, there is a book, it's called Spiritual Emergency. Now, if the Kundalini starts to rise unregulated and your body system is not ready to handle the power of that Kundalini rising, it can lead to psychotism, it can lead to a lot of problems in your system. So that's why preparing yourself for that particular process also becomes very important. That's why in the Monroe Institute process, every exercise we go through a preparatory process to creating that environment within your body to be able to handle those expanded states of consciousness when we are going into those states.
Nikita is so
Mantra.
right. You know, I know one person
Hmm.
who's so ill because of this Kundalini ka thing that she was
Yes,
doing.
it can create a lot of problems for you
Hmm.
because
Lot of problems she
people
has.
get into this stuff without really being prepared for it. So that's why that
Emotional
clarity.
and physical she has.
Absolutely, emotional,
Hmm.
physical, people
Hmm.
can get psychotic also. So the point is that you have to be, it's a step by step process. And that's why the guru was very important.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now we don't have a guru.
Hmm.
But what I'm seeing is that the more you clarify yourself, the more you clean yourself, the more equanimity, the more balance is there in your system. When you get into these processes, it becomes easier for you to access and then to handle and to then to stabilize it. You can experience it once, but whether you can stabilize it or not is actually the name of the game.
Mantra yoga. This yoga uses the repetition of sacred sounds for the practitioner to invoke and unite with specific energies and deities. The sacred sounds may be chanted vocally or repeated silently.
Again, each mantra has its own frequency. We've discussed this before. So, which mantra will work with you? We can test for that also. And then you have to actually feel the vibration. What is happening with the mantra in your system? What effect is it having on your body? What effect is it having on your emotional state of consciousness? What effect it's happening on your mental state? And whether it is connecting you into that spiritual essence that you want to connect to. So again, it becomes very important. What is it that you want to connect to? So you need to use that particular mantra. If you use a wrong mantra, it will take you down a different path. So that's where again conscious awareness starts to play a very important part.
Raj Yoga. This yoga seems to include all yogic styles and practices and focuses on mental mastery and meditation.
So Raj Yoga, of course,
Shabd
is
Yoga. Shabd Yoga. This yoga, also called Nad Yoga, is the yoga of listening. Through listening, the practitioner can achieve deep states of meditation and union with the divine.
so again we had a Nadyog, this thing that's basically sound, that you keep listening to the sound and then that sound transports you into an altered state of consciousness. So I would say that maybe the hemisync music that we are listening to could be considered in this kind of a yoga.
Yantra Yoga. This yoga focuses on the use of vision and form in order to create union with the divine. Visualization is a primary facet of this practice.
So again, you have a form of a Devi Devta, or you have a yantra made out, and then you focus your attention on the yantra. So the yantra becomes a doorway or a wormhole to take you into an altered state of consciousness. Again, yantras become very important of how you're using the yantra, who has made the yantra, what metal or what is the mode on which the yantra is made. So many factors start taking a part. I had gone to one house for a Vastu consultancy, and over there I found a big yantra. Okay, it was like 3 feet by 3 feet. It was given by the Isha Foundation, and they had specific instructions to put certain things on the yantra. Now, this guy was actually using that yantra as a table, and all sorts of things were on that yantra. Now, if you're making a yantra, you have to be very careful about how you are using that yantra also. If you're not going to use it in the proper manner, then it can give you very powerful depleting energies also. So that's why the more simple you are, the more energy you can get into yourself rather than using external effects. That becomes very important. That's why I find this humming effect, because it's a tool that you have in your own hands. You're not dependent on anyone. You don't need to carry anything anywhere. It's a built-in system. So if we can use it properly, it can become really powerful for us.
As you can see, at least two yogic traditions, Mantra Yoga and Shabd Yoga, specifically involve sound. In addition, the use of sound is included in many other yogic traditions, such as devotional chanting in Bhakti Yoga and chakra chanting in Laya Yoga. Humming and the Yoga Sutras. While we have utilized humming for many years, our interest in humming has been further reawakened through our yoga practice. We were teaching at Yogaville, the ashram founded by Sri Swami Satchidanand. He was the guru who led 500,000 people in chanting at the opening of the Woodstock Festival in 1969. While at Yogaville, we came across a copy of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali as translated by Sri Swami Satchidanand. Originally written around 400 CE, this book is one of the most well-known texts in one of any of the yogic traditions. We came across a verse, Sutra 1.27. Here, Sri Swami Satchidanand explains that the original fundamental sound of creation was the humming of prana, vital energy, the sound of energy vibrating. This sound, later titled Ishvara, was given the name Om. Sri Swami Satchidanand writes, the word
Even in
expressive.
the Gita class, Nagarji says that first it was Om, then it became Bhagwan, Ishwar, this, that. So again, slowly the name, now it's become God, it's become various names. So the essence was Om, but people didn't understand what Om was. So they started simplifying the name so that people would connect to it.
The word expressive of Ishvara is the mystic sound Om. Because it is difficult to understand anything without a name, Patanjali wants to give the Supreme Purusha a name. Even if he doesn't have a particular form, he should have a name. But Ishvara is a limited name. God is also limited because the very vibrations of the letters are limited. So Patanjali wants a name that can give an unlimited idea and vibration and which can include all vibrations, all sounds and syllables because God is like that, infinite. So Patanjali says his name is We can't easily say so it is written as Om. Om is called Pranava, which simply means humming.
So God is unlimited. So as soon as you label God, he becomes limited. So you've created a limitation for something which is unlimited. That is why it's actually Om. Om is unlimited.
Indira Bhavi, you're saying something?
No.
Okay. We both did a double take as we realized that this esteemed spiritual master had stated that the sound at the beginning of all manifestation was the hum. This sound was then named Om.
So the hum.
Shortly after,
And they've done a recording also of the pyramidal sound. It sounds like Om, but it's actually just a hum.
Shortly after, we came upon an article by Reverend Jagannath Carrera in Integral Yoga magazine in which he wrote about the same sutra. Sutra 1.27, the expression of Ishvara is the mystic sound Om. This sutra introduces us to the name Om, which denotes Ishvara. In Sanskrit, the word Om isn't mentioned. Instead, we find the term Pranava, the humming of prana. Since Pranava is not something we can easily chant, the name is given as Om. It is always vibrating within us, replaying the drama of creation, evolution, and dissolution on many levels. This hum can be heard in deep meditation when external sound is transcended and internal chatter stilled.
So when you go into that oneness state, when you go into that wholeness state, a state of total equilibrium, that is when you can start hearing that primordial sound. And when we are going into deep meditation, you'll find that in that emptiness, when your mind is totally still, the amount that you can hear and what you can perceive automatically starts to get enhanced.
Many years before this, Jonathan had created an award winning album called Ultimate Om, in which he recorded the sound Om being intoned by thousands of people in a temple, breathing at different times so that their voices overlapped. A few years later, Jonathan wondered what a recording of thousands of people humming rather than chanting Om would sound like. Would there be a difference? He created a new album titled Cosmic Hum, and indeed there were great similarities in the sounds of the two recordings. This experimentation revived for both of us an interest in the power of the hum. Next came our journey into validation of its power. After we had returned from teaching at Sri Swami Sachidanand's ashram, we contacted an expert in the yogic traditions who happened to be our neighbor at the time and asked him about the relationship between humming and yoga. He sent us an email with two words, Brahmari Pranayam.
So Brahmari we are doing every day in the morning.
Investigating Brahmari Pranayam. We knew that pranayam is the science of breath in the yogic traditions. A little investigation revealed that the term Brahmari Pranayam is Sanskrit for humming deep breath, and it is, at a basic level, a practice of the self created sounds of humming. As we researched Brahmari Pranayam, we learned that it was said to have many physiological benefits that were very similar to those that are attributed to humming, as we described in Chapter 1. The benefits listed below are a compilation of information that we found on various websites that focused on Brahmari Pranayam. In particular, Brahmari Pranayam is said to invigorate the thyroid gland, boosting metabolism, balance hormonal secretions, trigger serotonin release resulting in balanced moods, help balance blood sugar levels, enhance the oxidation of fats in the body, be helpful for Alzheimer's disease, improve hearing, help relieve migraines, produce quick and long lasting relaxation, support the cardiovascular system, release heat from the body through perspiration and help you feel rejuvenated. Help regulate blood circulation and lower blood pressure. Help control respiratory disorders, asthma, and thyroid problems. Regulate the endocrine system to support a healthy pregnancy and facilitate an easy childbirth. Help build confidence. Improve the functioning of the nervous system. Activate the pituitary gland. Improve concentration, memory, and alertness. Awaken Kundalini energy. Help treat paralysis. relieve sinus infections, stimulate the pineal gland, cure insomnia, charge and energize the central nervous system and the cortex of the brain, give the practitioner a good sonorous voice, relieve throat ailments, relieve the mind of anger, agitation, frustration, and anxiety.
Okay, so a huge
That's a
list.
lot of benefits.
Yeah, so there's a huge list of benefits. So Brahmri is done something like this. You put your thing like this and then you do it like this and you close your ears. So when you're closing your ears, the voice is going right inside the cranium. Okay, so it starts affecting the entire system. So of course, when that vibration is going on inside you, it's the same thing that we've been practicing in the humming effect, and it actually releases nitric oxide. It releases the blocks in the system, provided you do it with intent.
That's a lot of benefits. You might think that it's not possible for a simple practice of self created sound to have such astonishing healing power. While it's true that many of these claims have not been scientifically validated, it is most interesting that they are found in so many different and varying sources regarding the benefits of Brahmari Pranayam. Kundalini, for example, a potent life energy that resides in the spine and that figures prominently in many systems of energy medicine, cannot at present be measured by any known instrument.
So
So
again,
when we
we are limited by our instrumentation. So there are a lot of things which previously were explained in our Shastras, but the instruments did not exist to be able to perceive them. Now, slowly, as science is catching up to spirituality, we are finding more and more stuff which is mentioned in the scriptures now can be measured, and we can actually start seeing them.
So when we say that Brahmari Pranayam awakens Kundalini, we have no scientific documentation to back up that statement. This doesn't mean that Kundalini is not real. Anyone who has had the experience of Kundalini rising up his or her spine is aware of its power. It simply means we can't measure it yet.
So now, if someone has had that experience, whatever you may tell that person, that it doesn't exist, it's not happening, this, that, la la. But the guy has experienced it. Now he is not going to believe you under any circumstances because it is his experience. And that is when knowledge and experience, it becomes wisdom, and no one can shake you then. Okay, so that's why both these wheels, the knowledge and experience, become very important. So he clearly states over here, anyone who has had the experience of Kundalini rising up his or her spine is awed by its power.
We have seen many extraordinary occurrences happen in our work with sound, including, of course, astonishing healings. But as Jonathan mentioned in his first book, Healing Sounds, the cameras and research teams are usually not there when the miracles are happening. This does not mean that the miracles did not occur,
Okay, so now
nor
this is
does
also
it mean
important. Any kind of esoteric thing which works at the quantum level becomes very, very difficult to assess. This they found when they were doing quantum particle analysis, that the presence of another person in the experiment will change the experiment. So, how do you quantify it? It is literally impossible. And most of these so called alternate, actually, they are mainstream healing modalities, but because the allopathic world took over everything, we call them now alternate therapies. All work at a quantum level. So naturally, it's very difficult to document how the healing takes place, why it takes place, and all that. It's a very enormous task to do that.
nor does it mean that the thousands of people who have reported phenomenal healings from sound are not being truthful. We mention this because in our next chapter we are going to suggest some things that may seem incredible or unbelievable. This does not mean that they are not possible or not true. Recently, we were watching an episode of Nova on television. This particular episode involved relationships between species. One was of a dog and a cheetah behaving like good friends, while another involved a goat that took up it upon itself to help guide a blind horse back and forth to pasture. It was quite amazing and truly heartwarming to watch these animals interacting. One of the scientists narrating the program suggested that such relationships indicated some sort of empathy between animals and that these anecdotes required further study. Then he said something that seemed so relevant to our own work that we wrote it down. It was this: the plural of anecdote is data. What he meant was, if enough people report a phenomenon, an anecdote, the odds are that it's probably true. It becomes data.
So again, like there's this book by Dr. Rupert Sheldrake. He says, how do dogs know that their owner is coming home? Okay, and there's a full amount of research done on this, that they have videographed the dog, and they are videographing the owner. The owner may be across the town, but as soon as the owner gets up to leave and home, come home, the dog gets up and goes near the door. So the dog gets instantaneous message that the owner is now coming home, and they start getting excited. And they've done total research. It's an amazing book. If you all want to read something about how intuition works and how this happens, this is a very nice book to read. So there is empathy. You can develop empathy with literally anything. Let me tell you, you can develop empathy even with an inanimate object. There can be a connection. I keep repeating it, that book, that The Secret Life of Inanimate Objects. I don't know if I mentioned this in this forum before, but yes, there's one story in that there was a console in a TV studio. Now this console, whenever it used to go out of order, there was this one technician who used to go and stand in front of the console, and it used to start working automatically. Now, what happened, and no one else could fix that console. So what happened, this guy, he retired. Now the console has gone out of order and no one is there to fix it because it's just not getting fixed. So someone got the bright idea to go and get the tunic that guy used to wear into the studio. And then what he started doing was that whenever the console went out of order, they used to bring that tunic. So that tunic became a very, very valuable piece of property of that studio. They used to bring that tunic in front of the console and it used to start working. So now if that is not empathy, then what is empathy? The book's name is Secret Life of Inanimate Objects. I think it's by Lyle Watson, if I'm not mistaken, or I'll take out the book. I'll send the picture in the group.
Om versus hum. There are many sources that describe how to practice Brahmari Pranayam, but of course, they all vary somewhat. This fits in well with our principle of maintaining fluidity in the humming practice. You hum in the manner that seems best suited to you as a unique vibratory being.
Okay, so again,
With Brahmari,
you have to figure out what works for you. Believe me when I tell you this, in all spiritual practices, ultimately you have to keep making self-assessment to understand what works for you. Because all of us are different. All of us have different life experiences. All of us have different thought processes. So it is not one rule fits all. If anyone says that this is what will work and only this will work, my ears get up and I tend to start wavering, because I have not found that everything works perfectly with everyone. Everyone has to fine tune whatever it's been doing. That's why we keep telling people, experiment, do it for yourself. We are giving you the basic tools, but now you need to use them to make it your own. We cannot make the tool your own for you. The only person who can make the tool your own is you. No one else can do it for you. That's why fluidity in your practice, any practice, becomes very, very important.
With Brahmari Pranayam, there seems to be in particular some debate over whether the sound being made is an om or a hum. Here, for example, is one description of Brahmari Pranayam. In this breathing practice, your lips are supposed to be shut and you are supposed to gently and smoothly make a sound like a humming bee in your throat. This simple practice is very helpful in making the breath smooth and quietening the mind. You can feel the sound vibrations in your throat, jaws, and face. This practice is so simple and straightforward, it can be done by anyone regardless of age or background.
Okay, so
Another description comes from a phenomenal article from Nepal Medical College that we mentioned in chapter 1, titled Immediate Effect of a Slow-Paced Breathing Exercise Brahmari Pranayam on Blood Pressure and Heart Rate. During exhalation, the subject must chant the word O-U-M with a humming nasal sound mimicking the sound of a humming wasp, so that the laryngeal walls and the inner walls of the nostril mildly vibrate. From our perspective, the sounds of Om and humming have the same effect in the body. As we discussed in chapter 5, the sound Om can be seen as a precursor to humming. We have seen that some people have difficulty making a strictly humming sound, but if they add a brief O to starting their hum, they can easily close their mouth and find that they are creating a powerful hum. And of course, given the discourse from Swami Satchidanand, the two sounds are intimately related.
okay. So I think we can stop here. It's 3:14. We won't be able to complete this.
Mudras is the next.
Yeah. So we'll do it on Thursday. Anyone, anything to share? Anything to say?
Very nice.
Okay, so see you all for meditation. 3:45. Today we don't have the Ram Ram. Today we don't have the 9:15. We will have 9:15 tomorrow.
Thank you, Shri Mangla.
Yeah.
Ram Ram.
Ram
Thank you,
thank
Ram Ram.
Thank you, Bhaiya. Mangla.
Thank you, Bhaiya. Ram Ram.
Yeah.
Now it's on,
Go
is
ahead.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you see this Helsing music for the meditation. What is how do you spell that?
Hemi Singh.
Hemi?
Hemisync.
Yeah.
Hemisync.
Yes.
Just
Oh,
Google you Google Monroe Institute.
Okay, we'll get the details.
MONROE.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you.
We are hoping to have the first workshop on the 26th, 27th. I'm still waiting approval. As soon as that happens, we'll have the first workshop. Virtual workshop.
I'm eagerly looking forward to that.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Ram Ram.
Ram
Ram Ram.
Ram.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Ram Ram.